Norm Mathers here from Enigma Media. Today I have formerly Obsidian with me, reborn as Obsidian Resurrection. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Good, man.
Sweet. Why don't
The
you guys?
resurrection is here.
Yeah. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the band?
My name's Josh, the bassist. Yeah, I play bass. Not much else to say to that one.
And I'm Danny. I play keyboards for the band. Uh, all synth work, keyboards. That is my responsibility. So that's where it's at.
And a little bit about the band. We call Danny just figured this out recently. We play a symphonic death metal type style. It's kind of clever. Um, we play symphonic death metal, but we kind of blend in old school thrash. You know, that era of thrash where it was kind of death metal, but not. We kind of blend all that together with some symphonic black metal as well. Kind of draw from our influences and kind of regurgitate it out into the stratosphere and see what happens, and we create from there. You know.
I'm sure you guys were kind of like musical growing up, or had heavy influences from your parents, or maybe a sibling or something like that. But what kind of got you guys into metal?
Um, for me personally, I got into it at a young age. Yeah, my grandparents were a lot of my influences. They were into classical and jazz and blues. But my sisters, when they weren't picking on me and beating the shit out of me, they got me into punk rock and early death metal. Like my sister Linnea was really into Napalm Death and Cannibal Corpse, and my sister Cassandra was into punk rock and glam metal. They got me into that. My dad was into just straight up normal metal, I guess, and rock and roll and classic rock. And he actually had a recording studio that he built by himself, and he played bass in a Rolling Stones cover band called Liquor. And he taught me how to play bass at a pretty young age. I kind of picked up on it, but then my mom wanted me to learn guitar, so they got me an acoustic. Didn't really catch on to that. I mean, I liked it. I still love to play acoustics, but it's not what I wanted. I actually, I think it was about 10 years later is when I said, "Hey, I want to play bass." And then, my dad kind of showed support with that, and he started letting me play on his bass in his studio again. And this was before he passed away, unfortunately. And it was just fun. He taught me how to play by ear, how to pick up on things without having to look at tab sheets and stuff. I mean, that is kind of a fault also, but it's also a good thing because I'm just now starting to look at music theory and learning music theory, and I'm 41 years old. But I was taught how to listen by ear and play by ear. It's something my dad taught me. Um, so yeah, that's what mine was family, and then just discovering bands along the way with my family. Danny introduced me to one of my favorite bands, Opeth. They're one of my main influences. Opeth, Cliff Burton, Justin Chancellor of Tool, uh, Dream Theater, Young. He's amazing. I have a lot of influences, but this is going to sound sappy, but it's mostly my dad. He's my main influence because he's the one who really planted that seed.
That's cool. I like that.
And
Just one second. So what kind of bass do you play, or
Dude, I
basses?
just bought a new one. What the hell is it called? You can talk to Danny for a sec while I
Okay.
pull it out and check.
Okay, Danny. What got you into metal?
um, it was something that I kind of discovered on my own.
Okay.
Growing up, I didn't really have an appreciation for music all that much. I was more into sports as a kid, and I mean, my dad though he's heavily into music. Like progressive rock, English progressive rock. Genesis, yes, etc. Stuff like that. But I didn't really appreciate it until like early high school years is when I started to, I got into like Korn, Slipknot, Limp Bizkit,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, but I wanted I wanted more than that. I was just discovering some shit, and then this is of course the kind of the birth of like what you can do with the internet. We're talking like 99, 2000.
Hmm.
So I had those bands, but I kept on looking for more stuff, and there's like a couple of websites that come to mind, like the gauntlet.com was one of them. Hell, blackmetal.com was another one. And like through these websites, man, that's where I discovered Opeth, Moonspell, Twin Obscenity, Malevolent Creation. Shit that was like darker and heavier than Slipknot, for example, because
Hmm.
to me that was like the baseline. So I started finding these bands, and then I met Josh working at a Roundtable Pizza.
Roundtable.
Yeah, back in like 2000,
Oh,
and
cool.
that was my first. Yeah, that was my first job, and we started talking, and I had another buddy of mine who kind of introduced me to like Morbid Angel and Iced Earth, and and Josh mentioned Iced Earth too, and still like one of my favorite albums is Burn
Dark
Offering.
Saga.
I like Burn Offerings. That's mine. But anyways,
Oh no, that was
regardless,
the one that we were talking about back then. Is Dark Saga? Yeah, never mind.
yeah, yeah. So one thing led to another. Discovery. I there's another site called mp3.com where I discovered a couple other bands or whatever. So it's really niche. And then everything became more like word of mouth, and that's pretty much how I got into metal. But as far as like playing an instrument, man, I got into keyboards probably when I was a sophomore, probably a sophomore or late freshman, sophomore year in high school.
Okay, so
Um,
up in Canada, how old were you?
well, I'm in Washington State, so
Okay.
I moved. I moved. So I lived in
No, no, no.
California.
We just don't have sophomore, freshman. I just don't know what age
Yeah,
that's at.
Oh,
different
gotcha,
school
gotcha.
system. Yeah.
So high school down here is freshman is ninth grade,
Okay.
sophomore is 10th, junior is 11th, and senior is 12th grade.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So but I probably got into playing keyboards when I was late freshman, early sophomore year. I didn't want to play guitar. I didn't want to play bass.
Hmm.
And I was thinking, what I like this music, but what can I do? What can I play? And it was and I've said this before. It was a Moonspell track off of their CD, Wolfheart, and Erotic Alchemy. There's a melody line. Uh, in that song, and it just kind of clicked. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like that's what I want to do. I want to play keyboards, and I had a friend at the time who I haven't talked to in a long time, and he was a classically trained pianist. Uh, awesome. So I go over to his house, and he would like teach me a little bit about music theory. Or learning some scales here and there, chords and whatever, and it just kind of that's kind of the beginnings right there, if you will. So that's how I got into this whole thing of what we're doing now. You know.
Beautiful, dude. I love it. I love it.
And to
And
answer your
then
question,
yeah.
it's a Ibanez sound gear. It's a 4 string.
Okay.
I got it mostly because the tone is so damn sexy. But I later found out that it's what Justin Chancellor uses when he records. So I was like, sick. So the
Nice.
dude knows what he's doing because it has a blending knob that you can do all kinds of cool tones with that I just
Oh,
want to play around with.
cool. Cool. My main rig right now is a Music Man Stingray,
I
and
love Stingrays.
man, it's so nice and it sounds really great and everything, but it is so heavy. It's so
Hmm.
heavy. We rehearsed for like 3 hours, and my shoulders just like raw by the end of the night.
That's how it was when I was with another band. I had a Mockingbird for a bit. That shit was heavy. Sounded good though.
Yeah, totally. Um, Danny, how did you get into playing cello?
So after I moved up here to Washington, which was about 6.5 years ago, maybe. I have an 88 key keyboard.
Hmm.
Weighted keys, whatever. And at the time, I was living in an apartment. I had a bedroom, just a bedroom, and it's funny because a guy we went to high school with, he had moved up here 5 years prior to me moving up here. So, uh, through Facebook, I told him my idea of moving up here, and he happened to have a spare bedroom. So I was like, cool, I'm in, So I moved up here. I drove up here Labor Day of 2015, September, and I don't have room for that kind of thing. And I wanted to remain musically active to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what can I do? What can I play? I wasn't interested in the violin, and then I thought of the cello. And I really like the tone of a cello. I mean, who doesn't?
Cellos are awesome, man.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. So I started looking around. I found an electric by it's a beginner. It was a beginner electric by a brand Cecilio, and it was a package deal. You have the cello, came with a case, bow, rosin, um, headphones, a cord that you can plug into an amp, should you need one.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it online, bought it, and then eventually I bought a little like $100 amp from Guitar Center, and then sometime afterwards, I started taking lessons because you have to take lessons. There's no way around it. It's not really something you can just kind of pick up on you have to take lessons if you want to do it right. You do. So I took lessons for like a little over a year, and then I stopped because my instructor, who's ironically is younger than I am, and he used to be a skater back in the day, but he started teaching at a school cello. His main thing was stand-up bass, but he taught cello as well, and so I was, so I had to stop. So, it sucked because I wasn't progressing. I just wasn't. You really have to be disciplined and keep up on it. Otherwise, you lose practice, you lose form, etc. So then,
form's important for cello and violin, man.
it is. Well, yeah, it is, and it's easy to pick up on bad mistakes, bad form, bad habits, and so I started picking up lessons again about maybe 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because I have to. You have to. I mean, I wasn't practicing as much. Blah 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 blah. So just recently I stopped that though. I just too much anxiety. I'm not really one. I don't like having the spotlight on me per se. I don't like it, and it was kind of an unfortunate thing because as back in the day when we were playing shows live, supposedly playing live is supposed to get easier. It never did for me. It got worse for me actually. So the fact that this is kind of now just a studio project, nothing more,
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally cool with. Like
It's
I'm
so
fine.
much easier.
Yeah, it's so much easier to deal with. You don't have to worry about touring, but picking up gigs, this and that. You don't really have to. But I kind of veered away from the initial question. But that's how I got into cello, though.
Sweet.
Is yeah, exactly. That's it. So I'm still doing it, and I love it. That's where it's at.
Wicked. Okay, so Josh, you sent me over the your guys' bio just before the interview. I love
Right.
the story about reading like how you guys are kind of like resurrecting the album from 20 years ago. So how did the process go of writing the tracks and everything, and how is the process going now of recording it all?
The initial process of how this all started was Danny and Alex had been chit chatting, and it just kind of was brought up nonchalantly, I believe, and they kind of just both latched onto the idea of let's try this, let's see what we can do, and let's get this going because we had an entire album's worth of material that was just literally sitting around collecting dust since what 2006 ish, and we're
Seven-ish,
it
yeah.
something like that, and we're just it literally, it just didn't feel right, I think, to any of us, because we're sitting here with all this kick-ass music and nothing. So they jumped on like a group text with the rest of us, and one by one we all were like, yeah, let's do this. We're on board. We need to get this shit done. So how it works with us is basically tons and tons of communication in our little group chat. Plus, we send an ungodly amount of files back and forth. WeTransfer is a lifesaver. We've been sending back, someone will record something, he'll send it out to everyone for feedback, and we all listen to it. There's a lot of back and forth with sending files and in our conversation. And from there, once we all literally agree upon something, we move on forward to the next idea or project. It's been actually really, really interesting. Like it's kind of like, God damn my phone. It's kind of like, it's a double-edged sword. It has its benefits because it is more chill, but it does also kind of suck because you miss that band room factor. Like I've mentioned this before in a couple other interviews we've done, that the magic is still there, that when we all agree upon something and we hear something like, okay, that's badass, let's do that. But it feels different because we're not in that band room together doing it, creating that together in that space, But it still feels good. It does feel good to be working on music again. It's been 20 years since we've been looking at these songs. Some of these songs we had to revamp and rearrange and fix and tweak some things because they kind of did feel dated in an aspect, but we're bringing them back to life with some killer ideas. Like some of the works, like when we listen to, like, because we've been in the recording process, like my bass is done, Alex's drums are done, Danny's, I think, got one or two songs left with all of his orchestration he's working on. Dimitri's getting ready for his guitars, I believe, hopefully next month, and he's got his vocal arrangements ready. But when we send back something for feedback to the group, there's been a few times where we've all been like, fuck, I'm proud of what we're doing, guys. It's like, it's been pretty badass, some of the stuff we've been listening to, especially one particular song I won't say because I don't want to give too many Easter eggs away, but one of them, Goosebumps, dude, all the way through, Goosebumps.
Cool. Yeah. Like the demo that you guys have from 03, like you can hear that like if you guys just had the production behind it, that it's so fucking badass. And there's some parts in some of the songs that are just like, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like production aside, I don't even give a shit. This kicks ass.
There's zero production on that. Literally just plugged in and recorded. Like
yeah.
There's there's kind of a story to that because I'm gonna tell the Guitar Center takeover story, Danny. We had the shittiest luck with trying to find a drummer. The shittiest. How many years did we have? Like 3, 4, or 5 songs without a drummer?
I don't know, but I'm gonna interject here real quick. Is we have a demo without drums.
Yeah, that's all.
It's like 2 or 3 songs without drums, and it was mainly to find a drummer.
It's like, this is what we got. Can you play to this?
And I'm telling, and I've looked. I need to look again in my I've got a binder that's meant for CDs, and there's like a shit ton of shit in there. Some of them aren't labeled. I'm pretty sure the demo would have been labeled, but I'm not sure. I got to really look into it. I've been trying to find this demo, and I can't find it. I know Josh, I don't think he has it. I don't think anybody else
went through all my stuff.
Yeah, but we have a drummerless demo specifically for the purpose of trying to find a drummer. Seriously.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's how desperate we were. We were going for easily 3 or 4 years without a drummer, I think. Maybe, or was it 2 or 3? Anyways,
a few years, yeah.
It felt like an eternity. And so we were desperate. Before Guitar Center opened up in our city over here, there was nothing. We had Skips and Barkers, little teeny tiny shops, but we heard a Guitar Center was opening, and we're like, make or break, this is our chance. We need to do something. And they had a grand opening and we printed out a couple hundred drummer wanted flyers with our contact information, our MySpace, phone numbers, email, all that stuff.
MySpace.
And
Yeah,
literally, what was going on at Guitar Center was so lame. It was like house music, DJ techno crap in the parking lot, and we're sitting here like, this is supposed to be Guitar Center, dude. What's this raver shit, you know? So we're like, okay, this is our time, because we noticed no one was enjoying themselves. Nobody, not even the security guards or the employees. It just looked like they hated the music that was going on and the atmosphere. So Dimitri and our guitarist at the time, Mike, our original guitarist, they jumped on an amp and grabbed a guitar. And I can't remember, Danny, did you plug in or did you help out pass out flyers?
I just passed out flyers, dude. But yeah, Mike and Dimitri, they did plug in. They started playing some of our shit.
I played like 2 or 3 of our songs.
Guitar Center, you know, and it was like
the security guards didn't even care. They were loving it, dude. And we're just passing out flyers. And it was technically our first show as we took over Guitar Center. And we just straight up shut down their DJs, and we played over them. It was awesome.
Damn,
I think at one point Dimitri said there was almost a mosh pit inside of the store.
Shit. Advertising for the drummer while you guys were playing.
Yeah. It didn't work, unfortunately. It didn't work. But our MySpace number shot up.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. We ended up finding our drummer. I always get this mixed up, Danny. Did we get to know Alex in front of my house playing hacky sack?
Honestly,
coincidentally,
dude, I don't remember, but so Obsidian had broke up, right? Obsidian was done. We had another band.
Just one second.
Sure.
I'll try to look like how it was before I went out.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks. We just had some technical difficulties here. We are back now with your regular scheduled program.
And back to Danny.
Okay, so so Alex, so basically Obsidian was broken up, and Josh and I, we had another band going on.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was called Vero Domine, and one of the guitar players, my friend Jason, we were jamming in his garage, and his younger brother Andrew was also part of another band called Scythe. So, and the two of us would jam, kind of back to back. I think we would come in first, and then they would come in second. So this was going on for some months. I don't remember how long, but at some point, Alex, our drummer, who was drumming for Scythe, conversation sparked up or whatever, and he had said that he had heard our drummerless demo. He had heard that demo, and that he thought it was fucking cool. And so we're like, that's awesome, and I think it may have been at this point when Vero Domine wasn't really going to go anywhere. Yeah. So eventually that kind of went away, and then we decided to revamp Obsidian with Alex as our drummer, because he showed interest, like, he really dug the music, and so that's kind of how Obsidian came about again. So that's when we started to jam, and that's how that demo that you hear was born. Because across the street from where we jammed was our friend Josh Ruloff, who was in another band, but he had recording equipment, and so that's where we went to record that demo that's out in circulation right now. Which was recorded back in like 2005 or 2006, or I don't remember when. It was a long time ago, but that's how that came to be. So that's just a little history right there, if you will.
I want to say the demo was 03, because we were playing shows and selling them and passing them out for a while after that.
Well, we started playing shows in 05 and 06.
It was towards the tail end, yeah.
Yeah, it was towards the tail end. Eventually, Dimitri moved to Arizona. Our vocalist / player, he moved to Arizona. We tried to make it work, without
It's
him.
tough.
Well, it came to a point where it's like, dude, we can't. If we want to go anywhere with this band, it's like this ain't gonna. It's not gonna work. With you being 600 miles away, 650 miles away from where we're at. And so it just kind of ended there, and then we tried to find another vocalist to replace them, but we just it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen.
No one felt right. No one had that Dimitri magic.
Well, because his vocals are pretty unique. I mean, he's got that Danny Filth high scream pitch, which not a lot of vocals can replicate. They can't, and
not safely,
plus he was a guitar. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. But he did vocals and guitars, so it's like it's hard to replace that. So eventually, it just kind of it went to the wayside, man. It just kind of petered out, which sucks because I felt like there was a lot of potential with what we were doing.
Yeah, especially since it's like right when we had a drummer finally. That's when shit started getting bad.
Yeah.
And then we had all that music, and we're like, shit.
Yeah.
And in a time when like remote jamming or recording
it wasn't a thing, really.
Yeah, and sending them to each other, right?
Right.
So crazy. Like, I mean, social media may have just kind of started with MySpace and Nexopia at the time or whatever. So how do you guys find, like 20 years later, coming back to it, how do you guys find navigating social media?
Dude, so I'm the social media guy. It was a trip for me. I felt like a dinosaur at first. I was like, what the fuck? Like my extent was I have Facebook to piss people off with my memes and to talk to friends and family that are out of state that I can't talk to. But no one else wanted to do it, and I was like, I'll do it. So I literally spent like 2 weeks learning about Instagram and shit like that before actually jumping into it. Same thing with YouTube and Bandcamp and all that stuff. I'm still learning those, but like I was just telling them last night, Instagram to me feels like the wild, wild west of the internet, dude. I get companies offering me drugs. I get all these internet, social media wannabe OnlyFans porn stars. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I just want to make music and tell people about my music. I don't want to talk to you while you're sitting on your bed,
Right.
And so I'm deleting so many messages a day, dude. And there's so many Christian metal bands that try to friend us, get pissed off that we're not Christian metal because we have the word resurrection in our name. And I'm like, bro, I appreciate it, but shut up, because then they'll start going on these religious tangents. And I'm like, dude, I don't really have a soul to save at this point with your particular religion, dude. It's fine. You're talking to someone that doesn't care, but I get it constantly. I delete so many messages a day, but I got the hang of it now. It's actually quite easy, but it can be overwhelming to try and promote all this stuff, because a lot of the times when I post a story or a post, I can do all the correct things, like all the tagging and the hashtags and crap like that, but it's like the old saying, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't force the horse to drink it. Like, you can't expect everyone to hope that they're going to do what you're asking them to do, like follow this, listen to that, support this, or maybe buy our little hot sauce right here.
Shameless self-promotion.
Can't have people do that. But we've been trying.
What's it called?
It's just the hot sauce is called The Blood of Mankind.
The Blood of Mankind. I love it.
Yeah, it's from it's a play on our lyrics, and a little Easter egg. If they look at the logo artwork, they'll find out on the album, but it's a play on some of our album artwork. That's a little Easter egg right there.
Yeah.
It has our logo on it. It's from Mr. G's Infamous Hot Sauce. It's a recipe that I use a lot on my meats and stuff like that, and he was throwing some ideas back and forth with me in a chat, and we just kind of was like, hey, this can make a badass hot sauce. So we did it, and it tastes delicious, man. But anyways, yeah, it's been a trip on social media, getting our stuff out there again, but it's working. I mean, hell, we've been doing it for about a year, and we're coming up on 2,200 people. I can't remember the last number count.
We We're close to 21.
Something like that, yeah. And so whatever the hell I'm doing is working, you know.
It is.
Yeah, and you guys got a few thousand listens on Spotify as well.
Do we? Haven't checked in a while.
I mean, for some like tracks from 03, like these demo tracks, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't know if it's fans that you guys had from back in the day, or if it's just
There's a few.
Yeah, or if it's just self promotion or whatever. But
there's actually a funny story. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about other people doing interviews with us. I'll stop if it's not cool. But
yeah, no, give her.
Smokey from the Metal Empire.
Oh yeah. We're good friends with Smokey.
I sent him a message saying, "Hey, here's our music. What do I got to do to have you check us out?" And he was like, "Wait. Obsidian?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "From like the early 2000s?" I was like, "Uh-huh." He's like, "From the Central Valley of California?" I was like, "What's your point?" This is creepy. And he's like, "Dude, I went to all of your shows." You know? So he's a fan.
He was in a band too. That we played with.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to discover what that band is, but yeah, he was in a band that we played with at one of our shows. So
was it the Venting Machine? No, it wasn't the Venting Machine.
I don't know, man.
I can't remember. He never mentioned it. He never actually finished that conversation with us.
No, I asked.
But yeah, that was cool. So he was like, it was a discovery that was kind of interesting. Yeah. But so some of them are old school fans. Of course, we got our friends from back in the day. They're like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear these songs again," you know. But it's really cool to hear the new fans' response to it, because we're sitting here like me and Danny, dude. All of us, we're sick and fucking tired of that demo. We don't want to hear that shit anymore.
Like, I am fucking have had it up to here.
Yeah, seriously. So, but it's interesting to see what people think of it nowadays. It's like I've told people it feels like lightning has struck twice. Like it kicked ass back then. Like hell, one of our shows we had a fat mosh pit and someone straight broke their arm in the mosh pit. And then after the show came up with a bloody ass shirt and wanted me to sign his shirt. I'm like, that's badass, you know? So I signed "Go to the fucking hospital." Was that?
You're the most metal person I know.
Right? But it's the kind of, I trolled him. I signed on his shirt, "Go to the fucking hospital." But but yeah, so it's cool to know that our music still kicks ass, you know? Like the energy's there for it still, and it feels good. It's humbling, to be honest with you.
Are you guys re-recording any of the demo?
Yeah.
Yes.
The whole thing.
Sick.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
It's gonna have the complete studio treatment.
Yeah.
Don't take off the other songs from Spotify when you do. I want to really like give them both a good listen, you know, back to back.
To compare.
Yeah.
No, we won't take them off.
They'll still be there.
They'll be on there, man. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be able to.
So you guys are just like a studio band. So what are the plans for, say, I guess the next year, next 2 years?
Well, so we're hoping by, I don't know, sometime the end of this year to get our album released. We'll see if that actually comes into play, but eventually it will be released. We'll probably get more merchandise out there, and then what happens afterwards? The our hot sauce is one of them for sure, and so that's kind of what we're looking at right now. We're trying to get the CD done. Like I said, hopefully 2022. We'll see. If not, it'll be sometime afterwards. But that's kind of what our main focus is right now. So,
yeah.
But it's gonna happen. It will happen for sure. It's gonna happen. I will, it's gonna happen.
If it doesn't happen, I just fucking give up on life.
Dude, I look forward to it so much. I mean, we'll help you guys share the fuck out of it when it's all ready and all that.
Nice.
Awesome. Much appreciative, man.
Yeah, no worries. So what kind of hobbies do you guys do outside of music? Josh?
I'm lame. I got into gardening recently.
Nice,
yeah, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, we got to fucking plant vegetables and shit, man.
Yeah. Other than that, it's mostly physical activity. I lost like over 200 pounds, and I picked up some physical activity hobbies. Like I discovered I love boxing, and hiking. I really like that. So that's the two hobbies I picked up on. Oh, and yoga for some fucking reason. I love yoga. On my weight loss journey, those are the hobbies I picked up on. So other than music and that and
Man,
gardening,
congratulations. Holy shit, you lost a whole fucking human being.
Yeah,
yeah, that's why I mentioned before the interview. I'm switching to low carb again. I got the little bit fluff back after having COVID for 4 fucking times.
Right, right, right. Well, you can't fault you for that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, thank you. It was tough. It was well worth it though.
How about you, Danny?
well, right now I've got almost a 2-year-old son, so he takes up a lot of my time, our time, me and my significant other.
Hmm.
Um, usually, we like to go places, go hiking. There's a lot of that to do around where I live, anyways. Um, I used to really be into brewing beer, like before I moved up here, and I've got several recipes
It makes a killer stout.
that I've written down. Eventually, I'm gonna do it again. Um, hopefully sometime soon. I haven't done it since I moved up here.
Hmm.
Um, but outside of that, man, it's like it's tough. It's tough. I try to. I'm trying to remain regimental as far as like my practice on the cello.
Hmm.
You can't let that go to the wayside. And then just right now, it's just recording music for our album. I mean, I'll it takes me like 4 to 6 weeks to get a song done.
Mm.
It's just that's just the way it is. And like there's a few songs that I have nothing for. I
Mm.
just don't have anything for. So I'm recreating. So it's like it's interesting because I have to. I'll put something down or record something. I record something else over it, and I'll find that I don't like what I recorded originally, so I'll delete it and then do something else over it because it's like a scratch track, if
Mm.
you want to call
Analysis paralysis.
it. Yeah. So well, it's just I'm trying to create but record at the same time, but I
Mm.
can't
Well,
move forward with the recording process until I have something foundational.
Yeah, yeah.
You
yeah.
know, so like I may record something that I like, but then later on when I go to do something else, it's like, well, that's kind of conflicting with what I want to do now. So I kind of have to either change it or I have to just be done with it, get rid of it.
Mm.
So it's kind of a this is kind of a new way of creating slash recording, uh, kind of in the same motion, if you want to call it that. So that's kind of like between that and my cello, that's really all I'm trying to spend my time on. I mean, I used to love to read books. Fuck, dude, I don't have time to read anymore. I just don't have the time.
Dude, I will never forget that night where you and I stayed up all night drinking vodka, literally just talking about Lord of the Rings. I picked your brain like a motherfucker about Lord of the Rings. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
this is one of the best nights of my life.
dude. Yeah, I used to know a shit ton about the Tolkien legends. If you want to call
Silmarillion.
it, first, second age, all that shit. And I haven't kept up on it. So what are you gonna do? And what are you gonna do?
Yeah, right. Well, plus going back to your
Keep playing
music, aren't
cello.
you also like kind of rewriting some of the old material? Or is that mostly the same?
Well, yeah. So a lot of the stuff that I had for like the demo songs, um, I've used, but then I've added to it because my whole back when we were jamming and we were playing live shows and making music, I was in the mindset of I'm only going to create what I can play live. You know,
Cool.
I have I've got three keyboards, and so I can go back and forth between them. If I'm playing something down here, my other keyboard I can maybe change effects for the next part that's coming up.
Hmm.
And it was all done by design. Because honestly, when you go to a show and they're a heavily keyboarded band or whatever, but then you notice that there's some parts that aren't there because it's a live setting. And I always kind of I found it kind of to be kind of a downer because I'm expecting to hear what I hear on the CD, but then you don't hear it. And so I was like, I'm not going to do that. What I create here, when I'm able to play live, is what's going to be on the record. That's the way it's going to be. But being as we're a studio only band now, it's my mindset's kind of changed. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna I'm gonna do my best on what's presented to me, and then it doesn't matter, you know. And if there's gonna be more layers, more this or more that, and that's what I'm gonna do, So that's kind of where it's at right now. But yeah, for me, it's quite a different process of creating and kind of recording almost simultaneously, you know. But that's just the way it is, and it's not
Yeah.
going to change.
I find that some of my best stuff, anyways, writing wise, like, yeah, I'll come up with something basic, jamming with the guys or whatever at the studio, but then I'll take it home. The way that we jam now, our drummer records everything live off the floor, so we can just like basically pretty much right after the jam's done, he loads it up onto our Google Drive. I can listen to it right away and then really kind of go through with a fine-tooth comb and write my own bass line for it and then bring it back to the guys and see what they think. So I almost dig that. Like, at least you can really like hone in on what you want to play and how you want it to sound and everything.
Yeah, exactly. With us, we had our drummer Alex because he's more like proficient in like audio recording software and stuff like that. So he actually would he made all of our MIDI files for all the guitar and bass parts. So after he was done with that, all of that was distributed, and then he used those to record his drums on. And so when we got the files for recording that we can record to, I had the MIDI guitars and his drums,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I use. And I find that having the drums is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It gives it more of a organic feel because I mean the MIDI, yeah, I mean the MIDI sounds good, but it's still really digital. And at first I was like, man, how am I going to create to this shit?
At first, I couldn't, man. I couldn't at first. It sounded like Nintendo to me.
but I'll tell you, through the process of this, I've gotten used to it.
Yeah, I'm used to it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to it, and hell, even now, I think I'd be able to create something and be successful if it was just MIDI guitar and nothing else. Because seriously, because then that's when it's going back to the roots. Because before we never had a drummer; it was just guitar and bass. So it's like, okay, so I'm going all the way back to the starting point, except it's all fucking programmed and digital.
It's come full circle.
Yeah, right.
All right. So something that we ask all the bands, if there's one thing that you guys would change about the music industry, what would you guys change?
Only one? Fuck, I got a grocery list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you go. You go first, Josh.
What's at the top of the list?
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to segue into something totally off the topic of my band, but I've started something called Metal Incorporated. It's kind of like a community group of bands promoting each other, because that's the one thing that really pissed me off going into the new social media landscape nowadays. One of the things I kept getting trolled about was like, hey, I can promote your band, I can advertise you this, blah, blah, blah. And I gave a few people a shot. And some of them, I saw a little bit of a upkick in our stuff, but nothing. And just, I got sick of it. It's like, I don't want to pay someone to do the same shit I can do on my own. So like something that Danny and I call it, it's becoming full of sharks. They're looking for the little fish that they can take advantage of and eat, So I want that trust factor that's gone nowadays. Back in the day, man, because our band, we were tight with a lot of bands back in the day, and we had our own little clique back then. Because I kind of did it back then. Also, it was called Unbound Productions,
Okay.
but it's not as big as how Metal Incorporated is nowadays. But back then, we didn't really have that issue like we do now. Like everyone wanted to be a part of it. Everyone wanted to help you out. Like we would go to other bands' shows and help them pass out demos and flyers for their upcoming shows. They would come to our shows, do the damn same thing for us, pass out our demos and our flyers for our upcoming shows, things like that.
Cool.
We had a massive clique of bands, and it feels like that's gone. Maybe it's because we're not a live band. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing because we're not live. But I feel that is void in this new musical landscape nowadays. It feels like it's a wasteland. There's like no one. Actually, I'm going to take that back. A lot of the bands in Metal Incorporated tell me that the scene nowadays is void of trust and compassion and passion in general. Like they say that it just feels like a wasteland of nothingness, just people wanting to pay to play or pay for this and pay for that. Like no one is out there giving it their all. They're just pumping shit out and paying someone to do something for them and then expecting results. But everything feels like it's just manufactured now. There's no feeling into it anymore. So that's my main gripe.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's it's so tough. Like our most engaged post over the 3 years that my band Storm the Empire has been around was this meme. Franklin D. Roosevelt said back in 1837, like, when somebody drops in the mosh pit, pick them the fuck up, or something like that. And that got the most attention out of any of our stuff. And I was just like, okay, so like I don't know if it's that people or whatever, just I don't know, like maybe they pretend to care or whatever if you were
I think
talking to them face to
I
face,
think
but then
what it is that's always there. It's always going to be there. But the industry is ruining that for the little guys, the upstarting people. Hell, probably even the veterans. They probably see it on a day-to-day basis, and they're sick of it too. Because a lot of the times they want to help the little bands, but their label won't let them. You know, like like I was telling Danny, dude. Like sometimes when I talk to these bands, they're trying to bring them into the fold of Metal Incorporated. They think I'm a scammer. They think I'm wanting them to pay me money. They're like, this guy's got to be tripping. No one wants to do this stuff just to help me, you know? they kind of feel awkward about it. They're tripping. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not going to ask you for shit. I just want people to hear your music, dude. I think you kick ass. I want to help you out, you know?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat right now. Like I'm kind of cold messaging, cold calling people, like bands daily, trying to set up interviews and stuff like that, and lots of people just leave me on red or whatever, right? And I'm just like, man, I'm
It
like,
sucks.
I just want your guys' story out there. Like we ran into the same thing. We started pretty much right when COVID hit, and then we were deciding which direction we wanted to go with the band and everything, and we were like, okay, well, we got to promote more on social media. There was nowhere to fucking go for underground bands, so we're like, okay, well, let's create the platform where underground bands go to and share their story and give them an outlet and all that.
Right on. That's exactly what we're trying to do with my own corporated, man. That's awesome. Keep doing that shit.
Fuck yeah. How about you, Danny? What would you change about the music industry?
Probably, a lot of things that Josh said. I mean, there's not really a whole much I can add. It was just, again, that whole trust factor between bands, just it needs to be reestablished. There shouldn't be any fear, of being fucked over, but it's there. Unfortunately, it's there because there's someone out there that's just trying to make money, and that's all they care about.
Absolutely.
You know. So, and I think,
all right. It sounds like we got an unhappy baby. You guys want to wrap this up?
He's at my door right now. Yeah,
oh, no.
my
okay.
My toddler's at the door.
Is there anything you guys want to say to the fans before we sign off?
Go ahead, Josh.
I'll take this. Just thanks, man. Thanks for all the support, because there are times when I've actually called upon fans that, hey, help us with this, help us with that, and they did step up. Like, we were in a couple contests back then, and we won first place in all these contests for certain things, and so the fans have been really responsive to what we're doing, and we're enjoying the hell out of it. So thank you for supporting us, and we're going to deliver on this album. Trust us, we're going to. If you could only fucking hear the shit that we're writing, yeah, we're going to deliver. Just be patient with us.
Wicked. Well, thanks so much for coming on, guys. Hit me up as soon as you guys know the release date for any of the singles, and we'll help you guys share the shit out of it.
Cool,
Nice,
man.
dude. Awesome.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you want, man, hit us up, and we can hit you up when the album's out, and we can do this again.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to listen to it and then pick your brains about the songs and everything.
Sweet,
nice.
Dude.
Yeah, we can walk you through it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right, cheers, boys. Peace out.
Cheers.
All right, man.
Later.